Your coding agent is leaking context and someone finally fixed it. Here's something kind of weird that's been quietly trending on GitHub the last couple weeks. There's a project called Context Mode that just hit #1 on Hacker News with 570 points, and it's already running across 14 different coding agents, from Claude Code to Cursor to Codex to Antigravity. 12.9 thousand stars, 893 forks, and it shipped its first version about 10 weeks ago. The pitch is very specific. Every MCP tool call you make is dumping raw data into your context window. A Playwright snapshot costs 56 kilobytes. 20 GitHub issues cost 59 kilobytes. After 30 minutes of agent work, 40% of your context is gone, and then your agent compacts the conversation and forgets what file it was editing. 12.9 thousand stars on the repo, 570 points on Hacker News, 14 agent platforms supported, and a 98% context reduction on real workloads. The numbers are not subtle. And the wild part is, this isn't a research paper, it's an MCP server you install in about 30 seconds and your agent starts using it the next session. Let me show you what's actually inside. Okay, so this is the README and the framing here matters. The author calls this the other half of the context problem. Most people fixate on context windows getting bigger, 200,000, 1 million tokens, and assume the problem is solved. The argument here is that the real problem is what fills the window. Every tool call dumps raw output. The agent compacts. The agent forgets. You start over. Context Mode is an MCP server that intercepts those tool calls, runs them in a sandbox, and only the result enters your context. The list of companies running it on the README is honestly wild. Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, Stripe, Notion, GitHub, Cursor, Supabase, all listed at the top. The HN front page bumped it to 10,000 stars in about a week, and it kept climbing. Here's why this is different from every other context optimization people have tried. The usual approach is summarize. You finish a tool call, you summarize the output before it hits the context. That works for pros. It falls apart on logs and snapshots. The other approach is compaction, which every coding agent already does, and the compaction ironically destroys the working memory you needed. Context Mode does neither of those things. The repo specs in one frame, 12.9 thousand stars, 893 forks, and Elastic License 2.0, which is source available, and 111 shipped releases in 2.5 months. That last one is to tell 2 releases a day, every day since launch. Okay, so the 4 sides of the context problem and what Context Mode does about each one side. One is context saving, and this is the obvious win. Tool output gets sandboxed in a subprocess, and only the final result enters your context. 315 kilobytes of raw output becomes 5.4 kilobytes. Side 2 is session continuity. Every file edit, every Git operation, every task, every error, every user decision gets tracked in SQLite. When the conversation compacts, instead of dumping all that data back into Context Mode indexes it into FTS5 and lets the model pull only what's relevant via BM25 search. The model picks up exactly where you left off without reprompting. Side 3 is the one I find most interesting. They call it Think in Code. Instead of reading 50 files into your context to count something, the agent writes a script that does the counting and only logs the answer. So 47 read calls becomes 1 CTX execute call. 700 kilobytes of file content becomes 3.6 kilobytes of output. The framing is, the LLM shouldn't be a data processor. It should be a code generator that programs the analysis. Side 4 is output compression. The system prompt itself rewrites how the model talks. Drop articles, drop hedging, drop pleasantries, technical substance exact. They quote it as terse like caveman, and it cuts output tokens by about 70% without losing accuracy. Under the hood, the architecture is genuinely interesting. The knowledge base is built on SQLite FTS5 with BM25 ranking, which is a classic information retrieval algorithm that scores documents by term frequency and document length. Search runs 2 strategies in parallel: Porter stemming and trigram substring matching, and the results get merged with reciprocal rank fusion. Multi-term queries get a proximity re-ranking pass, so passages where your terms appear close together rank higher. They threw in fuzzy correction with Levenshtein distance, so Kubernetes finds Kubernetes. The sandbox supports 11 language runtimes, including JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Shell, Ruby, Go, Rust, PHP, Perl, R, and Elixir. Bon is auto-detected for 3 to 5 times faster JS execution. Install on Claude Code is 2 commands. You add the marketplace, you install the plugin, and the next session your agent has 11 new MCP tools and 4 hooks running automatically. No config file, no project edits. The session start hook injects the routing instructions at runtime. There's an MCP-only path if you want it, without the routing enforcement. Just Claude MCP add context mode and you get the tools. The model just won't be nudged to prefer them over raw bash and read. Version 1.0.1.11 shipped 2 days ago and gives you a clean look at the release cadence. The change is one line, a refactor of how route pre-tool use picks up the platform parameter, plus a CI test alignment so the rebuild test stops failing on 3 operating systems. They've shipped 111 releases since launch, which is roughly 2 per day, every single day. The status line is opt-in and shows you context savings in real time. Dollars saved this session, dollars saved across sessions, % efficient. The Personal Analytics dashboard, CTX Insight, opens a local web UI with 90 metrics, 37 insight patterns, and 4 composite scores covering productivity, quality, delegation, and context health. Okay, so who should actually be paying attention to this? If you write code through an agent for more than an hour at a time, you've already hit the compaction problem. You're the target. If you've ever asked Claude or Cursor to research a repo and watched it burn 100,000 tokens reading files that didn't matter, you're the target. If you build agentic skills or MCP servers, the architecture choices in here, FTS5, BM25, RRF, merging, sandbox, isolation, are an open textbook for how to build context-efficient tools. And if you're paying for tokens, the 70% output compression alone pays for the install in about a week. Okay, let's be real about the trade-offs. The license is Elastic License 2.0, which is source available, not open source. So if your company has a strict MIT or Apache-only policy, you can't ship this. The hook setup on a few platforms like Cursor and Codex needs manual config files. It's not all push-button. And the project is moving fast. 2 releases a day means you'll occasionally hit a regression and need to run CTX upgrade. But for everything that's wrong with it, the project is real. 12.9 thousand stars in 10 weeks. 111 shipped releases, 14 agent platforms covered, full SQLite FTS5 retrieval engine, all built by one maintainer named MK with PRs landing from contributors at companies on the list. If you write code through an agent in 2026 and you're not at least testing this, you're paying token costs that other people aren't. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you tomorrow.